What is up, Waffle Gang? I do hope you are well. My name is Mark, and today we're checking out some more r/entitled people with some entitled parents thrown in along the way, I think. If you are new here, please consider hitting that like, that subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, as it all massively helps out our channel. Timestamps are in the description. Please feel free to use them, and let's just crack straight on with today's stories. Much love, guys. Now, our first story comes from Caillou Berian. My entitled mother throws out my ADHD medication, then complains when my grades drop. I'm currently 21 and I've had to live with my very entitled mum my entire life. I began to cut contact with her, but she liked to take her anger out on me before I left, and now that burden fell to my sisters. Luckily, they go to college at the end of the summer, and my parents are finally getting divorced, so I thought I'd share my stories. So, backstory, my first semester of high school, two of my teachers messed up my grades, lowering them by a whole level, but my GPA wasn't all that improved. However, my parents got called in for a meeting with a vice principal. The meeting went well as we cleared up the issue and even got me out of the crazy history teacher's class. She taught God was aliens as if it was fact. Afterwards, the VP told my parents I might have ADHD. Luckily, my dad took it seriously, and after a year of arguing, I got diagnosed with ADHD, combined type, and prescribed Vyvanse. After that, my grades improved, and a lot about myself made sense. My mum, on the other hand, felt it was too much of a burden on her. My mum was so entitled that my entire personality should be shaped around what made her look better. To her, I'm not an introvert, I don't love comic books, I don't play video games or D&D, and I don't hate sports, and especially, I don't have ADHD. She tried to make me keep it as my little secret. I didn't. Fast forward to finals week of my junior year, my medication bottle, which just had been refilled the other day, was now empty. I asked my mum to see if it had been misplaced. She unabashedly says she flushed it as it was too embarrassing for her to have a broken kid. I got pissed and walked out of the house, going to school without a word. I texted my dad on a business trip and told him what happened. As I did, my mum texted me saying if I was going to be a little ungrateful shithead, I can stay away. I informed my dad that I had nowhere to go. Being amazing, he actually got me a hotel to stay and study. I tried to focus on finals the entire week, but my grades sucked. When my mum found out, she was pissed. She yelled at me for hours about being a slur. I had put up with this for so long that while I usually broke down and admitted it was right because it was easier, and I'd been broken at that point and I was just done. I went to bed while she kept screaming. She cancelled my phone plan for a whole month. She blamed me for being on the phone and my TV and movie watching. I'm currently a film major, so I didn't mind, but eventually it was too inconvenient for her. Even years after this, she still claims it's all in my head and I shouldn't be trying to take my medicine. This is just one of many entitled moments, but not the worst, honestly. I might share more stories like the story of my graduation party. Edit, you guys seem to be interested in the creature called my mother, and I have more stories to share. Here are some of the ones off the top of my head. Let me know what you want to hear more of. Stole Christmas money from grandma. Tried to force me to change colleges. Complaints about me Twitch streaming. Broke my Persona 5 disc. Sided with my sister's bullies. Cause money, and many others. God, hearing that when it said a broken child, that got to me big time. Thinking that someone has to go through that from one of their parents, someone that you're meant to trust and love you and protect you, and they say, I don't want a broken child. And I know this happens all the time, every day, all over the world, but when you read it, it still hits you, doesn't it? It's just, wow. But Mad Max 0412 says, sheesh, I'm glad you don't have asthma or anything life-threatening. Her broken child would die. And On With Dan says, broken child. I think you have a broken parent, my friend. Best of luck to you. And Ryan says, as someone who also has ADHD, what the bitch did is abuse. And Latent says, thank goodness your father is sane. In your situation, I'd be tempted to make all her parental failings as public as possible. If her image means so much to her, let's see how she deals with everyone knowing the truth. An illustrious Clue says, as a mother of 3 children with ADHD, and I also have ADHD myself, and take the same medication, your mother is an abusive monster. What she did was illegal, and please call the police and have her charged with stealing your medication, destroying it, withholding healthcare resources, domestic abuse. This should also get your medication refilled. Please either press charges or tell the police you want to press charges unless she pays for a replacement of your medication. Get away from this vile, abusive, narcissistic, poor excuse of a mother. And now I turn this one to you guys. What a way to start. Wow. Who needs enemies when you got a mother like that, right? And our next story comes from It's Personal Man. The kid next door using binoculars to peer into my window was picked up by my security camera. Parents freak out that I'm using cameras. Backstory, neighbours have 3 boys, all under the age of 7. In my first encounter with the mum, she promptly tells me, not asks, that her kids wander. I naively thought that meant there might be the odd rogue ball episode or something, so don't protest at the time. Our yards are unfenced and we share a driveway. Oh boy, was I wrong. My yard, back deck, front garden, and even the side of my house was seen as an extension of their space. The boys would even have a sword fight tournaments on my back deck, off my kitchen. The parents would literally do nothing. I was put in a position many times to ask for more privacy as it was affecting my work and a general sense of well-being, as I am a very private person. It took some push, but finally things got better, but they still wander, however to a level I'm not willing to cause drama over. This past early winter, I decided to put in security cameras. I live alone in a not so great area and I wanted some peace of mind. I also wanted to document encroachment in case it got bad again. In that time, the cameras have picked up a lot of encroachment from the kids, but I did not raise the issue because the relationship with parents is peaceful and I wanted to keep it that way. Fast forward to yesterday, my camera picks up a clip of the middle kid peering into my window with a pair of binoculars. I send the clip to the parents explaining one of my cameras picked it up and I'm not comfortable with this behaviour. It is inappropriate and an invasion of my privacy. They send a note back saying he was only trying to see if I was home so he could say hello. Then insisted on knowing more about my security cameras, what they can see and if they pick up the kids playing in their yard. I explained that they don't, as they only pick up motion in my yard, but if the kids are in my yard, which they are a lot, they are recorded. The parents are insisting I take the cameras down. The lesson is, entitled parents raise entitled children. I am frightened to see what kind of adults these kids will turn into. Who knows if I will be here long enough to find out. Edit, thanks for your responses thus far. I should have mentioned the fencing backstory. How I would love a fence and will someday. I live in an area that wood is twice the price and tradespeople are taking bribes for bookings. It's not really possible right now, but someday. They are not entitled but also deadbeats, so I'll be paying for it on my own. I did the one thing I had control of, and that's installing cameras. And we'll start with Abrithlia saying, file a police report for the peeping and trespassing. If they get hurt on your property, you are liable. It's a good thing you have cameras, so when they trespass, you have proof. And Comfortable Zebra says, you're liable if those kids get hurt on your property. Write a certified letter and if they keep doing it, file a report. A fence would be a really good idea. And Coyote Can't Spell says, you did the right thing by installing the camera, and you were kind enough to inform them directly of the binocular incident, rather than them hearing about it from an officer first. I find it suspicious that they want to know what it records and request taking it down. Suspicious enough to consider adding another if you don't have full coverage of your property. Their request that you take it down is ridiculous, but also makes me suspicious. Keep the footage and consider that the kids might try to take out your camera. An imposter among us says, please get rid of your cameras that increase your safety from trespassers so my angel can invade your privacy. Said no sane person ever. And we have a story within a story from Florida Born saying, my sister once had a situation where neighborhood kids were cutting through a backyard in order to reach their cul-de-sac. That shaved about 10 minutes off their walk from the bus stop to home. However, in order for the kids to cut through, they had to pass right by my sister's very large sliding glass doors that led into her bedroom. This usually happened when the kids were coming home from school or trying to get to their friend's house to play. In general, my sister didn't have a problem with this, but then some of the boys started to stop and try and peep into her room every so often. My sister asked the parents to stop the children from cutting through her lawn. My sister cannot put a gate in because it was a neighborhood ruled by a HOA. Oh god. The cycle continued where my sister caught the boys peering into her room and asking the parents to have them stop. After months, she's fed up having to worry about closing all the curtains in her room that is 100% private without the informal path created by kids. At this point, my sister is 9.5 months pregnant and had informed the parents that the kids will see what they see if they don't stop. It's not illegal to be undressed in your home and in a room where privacy is expected where I'm at, i.e. bedroom where the windows are surrounded by large hedges and even larger hedgerows, The act as privacy fences is legal, but standing naked in your living that has a massive window with no curtains facing on the street is not legal. It took a week before an EP comes screaming that a precious little boy saw my sister naked in full 9.5 months pregnant glory while cutting through her yard and purposely peeping in her window. My sister laughed and told a lady to fuck off. The kid stopped cutting through the yard after that. Now, what do you guys think of this one? Let me know in the comments below. And our next story is from ASL Everyday. Your name wasn't on it. I 100% know this happened to a ton of people, but this is my first time having to confront someone. Nothing crazy, but still annoying entitlement. I bought a small personal fruit and nut tray for myself to eat tomorrow. I put it in the workroom fridge towards the back, assuming no one would see it and take it. Wrong. Side note, I'm a high school teacher, so it's highly uncommon for someone to just take someone else's stuff. I walk into the workroom for lunch and see a co-worker eating the small fruit and nut tray, half gone. I thought it was ironic until I looked in the fridge to see if my tray was still there, and it wasn't. Being who I am, I honestly would have just let it go, but again, I pushed my tray to the back of the fridge so it couldn't be seen. So this person apparently went looking for it and took it on purpose. I asked them if they had brought that to school with them today, and they blatantly answered, "No, I found it." I stared blankly back at them because I was expecting them to lie. I told them they found it because it was mine, and I had brought it this morning. They looked at me, laughed, and said, "Well, you didn't put your name on it, silly." I'm not a confrontational person at all, but calling me silly pushed me to the edge. I looked them dead in the eye and said, "So that automatically makes it yours?" They shrugged it off and told me to label my stuff next time. I completely understand labeling your stuff, but damn, really? Like, really? Damn, man, that brings me back to when I used to work in a warehouse environment and there was a kitchen and everyone used to put their food in the fridge and put their names on it too. There was one guy who was eventually caught and he was taking people's food every single day, taking it into the toilet, into the cubicle and eating it. He was not caught once, but he was caught 3 times. Eventually he was let go, but I don't know if it was because of this or some other stuff. But it had me sitting back like after a while and I thought, was he just really hungry and unable to get food? I mean, he was working, so he was making money, but you know, to do it 3 times, what must have been going through that person's head? And I was probably given too much benefit of the doubt, but I was just sat there all the time thinking, what if he was really just starving and, you know, didn't have the money, had too many bills and wasn't able to buy his own lunch? And it's kind of sad. Not that I'm making excuses for him stealing other people's food, because that's just inexcusable, but at the same time, it's just, I did have some sort of empathy towards, you know, someone that might be that desperate for food. Again, not making excuses for shitty behavior, because I would be pissed off too if someone stole my lunch. But Tonks Lupin says, the last 2 places I've worked, if it's in the fridge and it's not yours, don't touch. Liv Lives for Brain says, my office sometimes had communal cream cheese or a creamer or a soda or whatever, but it was either labeled as such or obvious because they're leftovers from a party. But you don't touch anything else aside from moving it out of the way. So bizarre. I accidentally ate someone's yogurt once because it was a brand and flavour I bought a lot and I was mortified. I remember thinking to myself, I thought I had the last one yesterday too. Yes, I did. Luckily it was a woman I'm friends with and she thought it was funny because she knew I would never do that on purpose, but even then. And B. Daniels replies to this and this. Pre-COVID, there was someone who worked in our office who would randomly go in and throw people's lunches away if they weren't labelled. Just this one person. Everyone else in the office minded their own business and food, and if it wasn't theirs, they didn't mess with it. One day I almost lost it. I had gone to a fairly well-known fast casual Mexican chain that lets you build your own tacos, etc. for lunch. I brought my leftovers back intending to have them for dinner because it was raining out and my husband wasn't going to be home. When I went to get them, they weren't in the fridge. I found them in the trash can. It hadn't even been 4 or 5 hours. Her excuse? She didn't know how long it had been there. Right. Needless to say, we went to a strict name/rate labeling policy after. And Pam Ale says, had a colleague that was constantly stealing everyone's food. He was confronted multiple times and had gotten numerous warnings. He finally stopped when I brought in a bottle of strong laxatives. Didn't use it, just left it sitting in the break room for all to see. And Xmas Ape says, my brother got sick of someone always stealing salsa he would bring into work. One day his girlfriend had some pineapple mango salsa or something. My bro took the jar, cleaned it out and filled it with ghost pepper salsa, left it sitting in the break room. He said he came into the break room as the guy started screaming. And Anytime says, grab that shit and throw it in the trash, looking them dead in the eye the whole time. When they say something, you retort in the most belittling time possible. Your name wasn't on it. Professional? No. Petty? Yes. That's how I live my life, when people touch my nuts. And one more from Chazzy Chaz 4 saying, I work with a lady that would never wash her hands after using the bathroom. One day, I had a box of crackers on my desk. As she was walking by, she put her nasty hands in my cracker box without asking me. I was disgusted. I looked her straight in the eyes and dumped the box into my trash. She had the nerve to get angry at me. Wow. Do you guys have any similar stories? I love workplace related drama like this, especially when it's not like totally explosive, but you know, you usually get some good stories out of it, and I love when people reply with their own stories too. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And our next story comes from Al, entitled People Would Not Leave Store at Closing. Back in the 90s, I had 2 comics and sports card stores in New Jersey. Most of the kids and parents were cool, but I had a lot of crazy parents. At 5:45, one fine late afternoon, I closed at 6 on that night. These 2 adults and kids came in. I let them know I had to close in 15 minutes and asked if I could help them. They said they wanted to look around. No problem, this happened quite a bit, and I proceeded to start cleaning up and getting ready to leave without rushing them. With 5 minutes to go, I reminded them that I was closing in a few minutes, and the father said fine and kept looking. Several times one of the kids would see a book they wanted and ask if they could have one. They weren't being brats or rude, but really seemed to like what they were seeing. At 6, I said that I was closed and had to leave to go to work. The father asked for a few more minutes, and since I was always taught never to kick someone out if you can wait a few minutes, I said okay. As you might have guessed, much more time passed, and at 6:30 I reiterated that I was now late for my job and they had to leave. The father said that was okay, they were just killing time until the movie at the theatre next door was starting. The mother looked at him and said something that I couldn't hear. I got mad and said that you made me wait so you could kill time and made me late for my job. He said, and I quote, "Yeah, like there's anything here I'd let my kids have." He commented on how rude I was and he would tell all his friends how I threw them out. He did. A couple of days later, some regulars came in and said that this guy said I was an arsehole and screamed at them to get the fuck out of my store. I told them what happened and said that they couldn't believe that I would do that, as I was always decent to anyone that walked in. Turns out these idiots never shopped in any local businesses, as it was beneath them, and liked to do this to local store owners. The kids came in and brought a few books. They apologized for their parents. It always restores some faith when the kids turn out to be better than their parents in these stories. And let's have another cheeky one from Snoo Donuts 5467. Entitled Guy Wonders Why He Doesn't Have a Date for a Wedding. So my mum has a catering company, and when she has a big job, as it's a family run business, she will ask me and my sister to help out now and again when she needs it. We're not fans of it because we don't like people, but it's my mum's baby and we love her. Lol. Ah, this particular time it was a very chilled style wedding with an assembly line where we would divvy out my mum's delicious food. Anyway, I can hear this guy in the line loudly talking about how no one wanted to be his date for the wedding. Poor him, he's such a nice guy, etc. He gets to my mum in line and compliments the look of the food and asks if she's the owner. She says yes and that her 2 lovely daughters are helping. EG looks at me and then my sister and says, well, one of them is lovely at least. Ooh. My mum, taken back, continues on as if he hasn't spoken and serves him. He gets to my sister, the lovely one, and tells her she's beautiful and how does it feel to be the typical beautiful younger sister, and she gives him a basilisk stare and asks him if he wanted a bread roll. EG, not wanting to hold up the line despite clearly wanting to carry on speaking to my sister, gets to me. EG looks at me and says he rates me about a 4 out of 10 and how awful it must be for there not be a 10 out of 10 looking sister. Now, I don't think I'm ugly, and I do think my sister is beautiful, but we look very different. She is very slim, athletic, tan with bleach blonde hair, with conker coloured eyes, whereas I'm an hourglass, pale skin, grey eyes, and heavily tattooed, so I'm aware I'm an acquired taste. I'm not offended, he thinks my sister is beautiful. I think she's beautiful, however I am offended that he thinks we want his assembly line commentary, especially when he looks like a human version of Seabiscuit. Poor Seabiscuit. So I lean back and say, you're the guy without a date, right? I can see my mum twitching like, please for the love of God don't be too harsh. He's grinning at me with his friends, all proud of himself, and I say, I wonder which one it is. If your lack of manners, looks, or personality that stop you from getting a date, when everyone else has one. Pausing to put some food on his plate, I hand it back to him and smile. I imagine it's all three. Also, despite being a 4, I've never not had a date for a function. Have a good day now. I never got to hear his response as the line needed moving, however Seabiscuit's smile is now gone. Such a shame, and I didn't get told off by my mum. Winning. Maybe now he'll have a better approach to women. I doubt it though. And we'll start straight away with Atomic Fox 84 saying, "Don't insult Seabiscuit like that, comparing him to that guy, lol." And Justin Old Baby Boomer says, "I bet your mum was trying hard not to laugh. That verbal smackdown was great." And Lynn Brad says, "Great comeback. Would have loved to hear what the others thought of him, or did they just laugh in his face?" To which OP says his friends were just sniggering to be fair, and surprisingly avoided me for the dessert round. Shocker. My sister told me she was definitely not interested, even before he opened his mouth. And now I turn this one to you guys. What do you guys think of this situation, and how would you have handled it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Now, once again, guys, thank you for being here today. I hope you did enjoy today's stories. If you did enjoy them, don't forget to click that like, that subscribe, and maybe that notification bell too, as it all massively helps out our channel. And if you want to support the channel further, you absolutely can, but never any pressure to do so by clicking that Patreon link down in the description below and joining up there. It is super helpful, but as I said, never any pressure. Thank you so much for your love, support, and time, and I will see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Much love.